What's up, everyone? I'm Emmanuel here with Financial Fitness, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 must-read books that I read or reread last month. So I wasn't always a big reader, and I can't claim to say that I am the world's greatest reader. Like, I know how to read. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't mess words up, but I'm saying, like, I don't blow through books like I guess some people do. I know some people can sit down and read an entire book in probably a couple hours. I take 2 or 3 days and I get through maybe a 300, 400 page book. You know, I don't know how if that's fast or not compared to you or someone else, but I think that I'm a moderate to semi-fast reader. So last month I read 5 books, and each of these books had a certain impact on me and changed a little bit the way I thought, and we're gonna go through those books today. So the first book I want to mention is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I think I said his last name wrong, but first name Jocko. You Google him, he's really easy to find. But this book had a serious impact on me, because if you ever heard the saying that excuses are like belly buttons, we all have one. Or if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. You know, and this book really tackles that because it talks about taking ownership of everything in your life. Biggest point he always tries to make, right, is look within yourself or change yourself, because it's easier to change yourself than it is to try to control or change your circumstances. So I mentioned this book first because it made a serious impact on the way I thought and the way I looked at things, and I think this might be a must read for everyone. It's considered a business book. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller. Pretty sure it's a business book, but I think that you can take it in any facet of life. If you're in any type of leadership role, if you want to be a leader, if you're an inspired leader, any of that, this book is the book for you. Second book I want to mention is Elon Musk. And I like this book because I'm not really into nonfiction books. So I like biographies and documentaries and things like that. So I like this book. It's a little thick, you know, it's about 420 pages-ish, 425. So it's a little bit of a read, but it's not bad, and it gives you a little bit of insight into Elon Musk, which honestly, like, he gets a lot of bad press sometimes. You know, he's known as a little bit of a kind of hard-edged, or you know, a lot of people who have left SpaceX or Tesla don't have a lot of good things about him, or good things to say about him. So this book kind of gives you a little bit of insight on how the struggles that he went through in starting up SpaceX and starting up Tesla and getting into renewable energy. And especially if you like any type of science fiction or futurist dudes, this guy's a huge nerd. So they talk about that, talk about books that he's read growing up and where he kind of gets his mindset from and why he thinks the way he thinks and why he thinks he can go to Mars, you know? So it's a good business book too as well. It is a business book. Some of these are business books. They're not all going to be business books, but this one is considered a business book. But it definitely gives you a little bit of an insight on Elon Musk and how he thinks and how he ran his companies and how he almost lost it all. You know, one of the things they talk about in here is he won multi-millions, and he put half of it into Tesla. He put a quarter of it into SpaceX, and then he put another quarter into his renewable energy company, and he had to borrow money to pay for rent. You know, so not rent, it was a mortgage, but he says rent. But yeah, this is a really good book, a really good read. I very much recommend it. You know, 10 out of 10 would recommend to a friend. So the next book I don't have anymore, but I'm gonna put an image of it right about here, and it is Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan. Now, Chris Hogan works for Dave Ramsey over at Ramsey Solutions, and Everyday Millionaires is kind of one of those books, just like The Millionaire Next Door, those type deals, Total Money Makeover, kind of one of those. It teaches you how to save money, how to use your 401k, how to use your company-sponsored retirements, Roth IRAs. It doesn't get into a lot of details on what those things are and what to do with them, but it does mention them. But it brings up all of these myths that we have, or these predetermined, I want to say, assumptions that we have about people who are millionaires. And so it wants to break down those ideas that you can't become a millionaire. So in the book, he interviewed 10,000 millionaires. Now, you don't hear 10,000 stories, but he uses the statistics from those 10,000 interviews that they did and talks about how most people got their money and how they became millionaires. Now, I think it's a little bit skewed because if you know anything about Dave Ramsey, he's all about the low and slow on building your wealth. So I think that they targeted millionaires who did it the low and slow, using their Roth IRAs, using their company-sponsored retirement funds. So it's a good read. I don't agree with everything that they say in the book, but that doesn't mean you can't learn from the book anyway. I think those are probably the best books you should read, things that you might have a little bit of doubts or some things that you don't probably agree with. So don't judge a book by its cover. You know, open it and read it. It was great. I learned a lot from it, and it definitely changed a lot of my perspective on whether I think that I can be a millionaire one day or multi-millionaire, even billionaire, because I'm pretty sure some of the richest people that he mentioned in there were multi-millionaires and on their way to be billionaires. Another book, and this is again a business book, and it is Rich Dad Poor Dad. And this is more for entrepreneurs. So if you consider yourself an entrepreneur, if you're up and coming entrepreneur, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to start with this book. And any other book, I say you can get the audio book if that's what you're into. But this book, I would highly suggest you read. You know, I would read it once and then maybe get the audio book later, but definitely give it a read through the first time. This right here is the equivalent to the Entrepreneur Bible. You know, and Robert Kiyosaki he's a pretty good author. He has about 10 books out, maybe a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books. He has 8 books out, but his brand, the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand, is designed around teaching entrepreneurs how to be an entrepreneur and how to think bigger, or how to get out of these money myths that you may have been born or that you grew up with. And so he kind of attacks those. So this book, when it first came out, had a lot of controversy, you know, because he challenges this thing like education, like should you go to college or should you not? You know, and with that being said, he has a master's. So he tells you not to go to college, but this guy went to go get an MBA. And as well as he challenges the idea of, is your house an asset? You know, and I don't want to get too much details. I'd rather you read the book rather than me regurgitate some information because it's going to be watered down. And I read the book. I finished it a couple days ago or about almost a week ago. I'm going to read it again, but it's better to read this book more than once, but definitely at least give it a one-time read-through. And then the last book I'm going to mention today is The Richest Man in Babylon. This one I read on ebook, so I'll put a picture of it right here if I can get my hand nice. Yeah, so The Richest Man in Babylon is a great book. Like, honestly, I should have put it first, but hey, if you made it to this part of the video, you wanted to learn, you still get to hear about it. So The Richest Man in Babylon is a must read for everyone. Everyone, I don't care who you are. If you make $1, you need to read The Richest Man in Babylon. And so The Richest Man in Babylon is probably one of the original, like, personal finance books, right? I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of them out there. But The Richest Man in Babylon does it in a unique way. So it does it in this kind of folk story, like almost like biblical type deal stories when it comes to teaching you how to deal with your finances and how to grow your finances. You know, it's not really a business book. It doesn't teach you how to open a business or grow a business, and it's not really a savings book to just teach you how to save and how to be super conservative. And it definitely doesn't get into any type of investing in any of that. So the book is based literally in Babylon. Like, it's literally based in some type of BC. I don't even know, so many years ago, right? Like, literally, like, they were writing in clay tablets in the book. That's how long ago the book is based. And it gives you a couple of different stories from a couple of different characters' perspectives without spilling too much of the book, because I'd rather you read the book yourself. But it gives you kind of mentors from old times, right? Like, it's like, hey, the point of the book is supposed to say that these principles are supposed to be so solid that this is the way that man did it before the land before time, you know? Like, this is how man did it in the land before time. And these principles are so solid, they still work today. Because it even talks about one of the guys are actually from, I want to say about 1930. It talks about a professor who found, like, the clay tablets that the book is supposed to be based on. I'm pretty sure it's completely fiction and the guy made it all up, but one of the stories in the book is about a professor who found those clay tablets during some type of architecture. They found some old stuff from Babylon, and it was going into the museum, and as it was going to the museum, the guy read it, and so he implemented those principles in his own life, and then it talked about how that changed his life and how he's had more money than he's ever had in his life. So it's not all completely based in Babylon, but it's just saying that these principles have been here forever, they're going to work forever, and they're going to continue to work throughout the rest of man's time. Okay, so those are the 5 most recent books I read. I'm going to try to do these videos maybe about once a month. I've been reading at an unprecedented rate. Like, I don't even know what happened to me. I just picked up a book one day and just, I've been going from there. And I honestly like it, you know. It's changed a lot of how I thought. I've learned so much. And I've mentioned before about being a lifelong learner. And I've always thought I was a lifelong learner, but my learning has grown exponentially since I started reading books. So I think I'm going to do these about once a month. Hopefully, if I can tackle more than 5 books, I will mention more than 5 books in a video. But I only did 5 books last month. Only, I don't know. That sounds like it may be more than other people, but I don't know how much other people read. So for me, I feel like I can do more, but at the same time, that is the most books I've ever read in a 30-day time span. So I'm proud of myself. So with that, you made it to the end of the video, and we're going to get into the quote. I might have moved a little bit because my phone died while I was recording, but I got it charged and got it back up. But today is going to be a quote from Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers and the 3rd president of the United States. And so let me grab my phone really quick so I can read the quote. So the quote is, "It seems the harder I work, the more luck I have." And Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd president of the United States, said that. And hey, he's a founding father. He's a really smart guy. I mean, there's been a little bit of controversy behind him lately because, of course, he owned slaves and all that stuff. But regardless of who he was as a man, he was a smart guy, and he clearly was smart enough to be a founding father and one of the presidents of the United States. So if he says something, it might mean something. So hey, comment down below what you think that means to you. And I have what it means to me, but comment down below what you think it means to you. I'll read it again so you can hear it a second time. "It seems the harder I work, the more luck I have." Thomas Jefferson. So now that's the end of the video. So I'm going to peace out, and you keep flexing those financial muscles.